The death of any member diminishes an entire community. But the death of a woman like Nancy Owens causes a collective gasp of surprise. Nancy was not the type of woman you'd expect to die in a random shooting. She was white, upper middle class, plump, and wholesome. A stepmother and wife in her 40s, Nancy had never been a leader, always a follower, except when it came to her love for her Hungarian heritage. There were rumors that she was the one who encouraged the mayor of St. Louis to connect with his Hungarian counterpart so that our town and Budapest could become sister cities. Beyond that, Nancy never distinguished herself, although many considered her the ultimate volunteer, a real worker bee. She had been involved in the Young Women Leaders, Zookeepers, and the vestry at St. John's Catholic Church. In photos, her face could barely be picked out in the back row. Surely you know someone like Nancy. She's the person who tries to bow out of the group photo, forcing someone to search for her and making everyone wait until she's found. She's the type who insists in standing where no one can see her. Nancy was colorless, odorless, and easy to forget. She had no kids from her first marriage. The divorce from husband number 1 seemed amicable. No one was surprised to hear her husband had gotten bored with her. Most people doubted she would ever marry again. When Bert Owens asked her to be his wife, people asked each other, "I wonder what he sees in her." After all, Bert was an attractive guy and a successful businessman, whereas Nancy Pirva Smith was a wee bit on the dumpy side and without any particular accomplishments to her credit. Although Nancy had shopped at my store, I didn't know her as well as I knew most of my customers. I'd been nice to her, of course, because I make it a point to be nice to everyone. We did have one brief moment when we connected. We'd attended a lecture on blended families. After the presentation, Nancy and I bumped into each other. We got to talking, and she asked if I had time for a coffee. Sensing she needed a friend, I made the time. I'd been right. She needed a shoulder to cry on. I heard all about the problems she was having with her stepdaughter. After we parted, as I was driving home, I counted my lucky stars that my second marriage hadn't turned out like Nancy's. My little blended family was doing just fine, whereas hers sounded like one of the levels of hell. So, when I heard that Nancy Owens had been murdered, shot in the head, while sitting in her car in a parking lot in Ferguson, I thought there'd been some mistake. "She was shot. You're sure?" I challenged Clancy Whitehead, my good friend and co-worker. "We're talking about the same Nancy Owens? The Nancy Owens who occasionally shopped here? You're positive that's the same person they found shot to death in Ferguson?"